Yes, people, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel, people. Today we're joined by Neil, you know what I'm saying, big Everton fan, season ticket holder for the massive game on Sunday up against Everton. A bogey team for us, Neil, at the minute, in all honesty, man. We haven't really travelled well at Everton. I'm looking at our last 5 games against you lot. This is home and away. So we've won 2, drawn 1, and you've actually got two wins against us as well. And obviously, last time we played you, we won that game 6-0. If you remember, Cole Palmer had an absolute, amazing game at the bridge.
Yeah.
At the bridge. And now we're traveling away. But how are you first of all, bro?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'd just like to say thanks for having me on your show. Yeah, I'm in good spirits. Looking forward to Christmas. Looking forward to Sunday, to be fair. Now, we had that great news yesterday. I wasn't 2 weeks ago. I wasn't looking forward to December at all, or to the fixtures we had, but football things change very quickly, so I'm a bit more optimistic today than I was 10 days ago, say.
What when you say the news, are you referring to your new ownership that have come in?
Yeah. That can only be a good thing for us, mate. We've just had years and years. I could take up your whole show with my gripes against the former owners and former chairman, but we're not here to discuss that. To me, it's just like a breath of fresh air, and I think that's the opinion of many Evertonians. Mr. Kenwright, for all his bluster, and no doubt he was a true Evertonian, he just wasn't up to the job of chairman and owner. And when he did bring somebody in, he brought in my opinion, he brought in somebody who would allow him to remain in control whilst being an owner from a distance, and it was a disaster.
Yeah. No, that's understandable, man. And in terms of your season so far, Neil, you're sitting right now in 16th. You've got 15 points, you've got 3 wins, 6 draws, 6 losses, -7 goal difference at the minute. It kind of looks like Everton are struggling to score goals. Obviously, was texting last night, and he didn't seem happy with what Dyche is doing at the minute. Neil, how have you found your season so far, and what is it that you're not enjoying? Because it doesn't sound like you're happy at the minute, mate.
I'm not enjoying any of it, to be honest with you, mate. I think the manager was brought in to do a job when he came in, which he did. But in terms of progressing from doing that job, he just hasn't done it. The football I'm witnessing is some of the worst football I've ever witnessed at Everton, and I've been going the match since I was a kid, and I'm a lot older than that now.
What is it that you're not enjoying?
It's just that his whole style of play is what I term as awful Sunday league style tactics. He plays to the same pattern, same style every week. He can't adapt to his players. My point of view is he has an idea. He likes a big man up front, which if you look at his record, he's always had when he's at Burnley, when he was at first start, he's always had a big man up front. And his tactics are just to hit the big man. But unfortunately, at Everton, it might have worked at Burnley to a certain extent because he got men in and around his big man. Up top, he doesn't do that at Everton. The centre forward, as much as I don't rate him that highly, I have to admit he's very isolated. And also, if he tries an alternative, his alternative is Beto, which he very rarely uses. But Beto is not a back to the goal striker. He's a get in behind and use his pace and his power type of striker. You know what I mean? Calvert-Lewin is a target man. And albeit I don't think a very good one, but he suits Dyche's style. But in order to make him more effective, he's got to get men in and around him, and he never does. The gaps between Everton's defence, midfield, and attack is unreal. And for professional football,
this is
at that elite level, it's just awful to watch.
Yeah, and this is what I noticed about your build-up as well. I saw 2 different types of build-up, but the main one that I was seeing was actually guys playing the low 6. Here you've got obviously that's Branthwaite on the ball. You've got Travolsky there, Ashley Young, and then what's his name again? The left back that you've got. Mikalenko. And then you've got Gay here. He tends to drop into the 6 by himself. And then that leaves Decore. You've got Dwight McNeil there. You've got Ndeye, who tends to be in the left half space. He mainly plays on your left, but I saw him in a lot of games coming more centrally and trying to sort of link up with the midfielders. A lot of your passing is in the midfield. It seems a little bit congested. But that is what I've been seeing in terms of your build-up. What you're referring to when you say that you haven't really liked the patterns that you're seeing? Are you not enjoying the build-up at the minute?
Well, basically, mate, there is no build-up because we've got 2 fellas playing in midfield who are... Ganagai is a great ball winner and Decore is full of energy. But when they are actually on the ball, both are very, very poor and both give the ball away more than any professional footballer at any level should do. So a lot of our build-up play breaks down once it gets into the middle third. And we've got players that I think, like personally, Mangala. I would play Mangala all day long because he can combine both. He can win the ball, but he's also quite decent with the ball on his feet. Whereas Dukes is full of energy, but with the ball at his feet, it's just you just know he's going to give it away 9 times out of 10.
Do you think that you're going to build up this against us? So this was your game against Brentford. This is again another difference that I saw in your build up. In this game, you had Gay and I think that's Decore there. That was more of like a pivot rather than a lone 6. So you can see you're building up here in a 3. And then you've got Dwight McNeil that was playing in between the lines as a 10. And then who's that new winger that you've got on the right hand side? He's meaty nil. And if you don't know what meaty means, it means mediocre. Who's that right winger that you got right now? It starts with
which what? Lindstrom.
Yes, him. He I'm sorry, he is not good. He is not good.
Well,
now I'm saying that he's probably gonna fucking score against us. But from what I've witnessed so far, most of your play comes from the left hand side. Do you think that this is the sort of build up that you want to be seeing against us? Because the way we press nil, you're gonna have to have a pivot rather than a lone 6. Because that lone 6 losing that ball, like what you did against United, right? If I show you the example against United, you conceded 2 goals against United from Ahmad pressing you guys, right? So
yeah.
Okay, so this was for the one of the goals that United scored. You can see here that was Ahmad. He tackled Tarowski, and this actually ended up being a goal, right? And at the minute, with how Chelsea our counter pressing nil has been so good, and how I'm looking at your defense at the minute, they're not quick. You know what I'm saying? They're really not quick. Branthwaite's quite slow. You've got Tarowski quite slow. If you're dilly-dallying on the ball against Chelsea, we're going to do exactly what Ahmad did to you guys. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. You're going to have to play that double pivot. If you try and play that lone 6, it might be curtains for you at home this time around. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't disagree, mate. But what I would say is that Dyche will not change his tactics. Dyche will play exactly the same way. He does it every week to the point where when you look at the team now, when the team gets announced or whatever it is, at 1:45 or 2:00, every Evertonian goes, just despair. Because you can predict what he's going to do. You can predict what his style of play. You can predict exactly how he's going to plan to try and score a goal, which is why we haven't scored many. Because if you're at the elite level and you haven't worked out what Everton's main goal threat is, then you shouldn't be working at that level, because it's obvious to even the most naive football fan. Get a set piece, knock it to the back post, hope Tarkowski wins it, or either scores or knocks it back in for somebody who can knock it in from 4 yards. If we're lucky, we might get a set piece outside the box, like we got against Wolves, and somebody can strike it. With regards to Lindstrom, I might be in the minority, but I speak to like-minded people, albeit I've had disputes with other fans over the lad. I think there's a player in there. However, he's not
seeing it.
he's not a winger.
Mm-hmm.
When he played at his most effective for Frankfurt, I think he played for when they won the European trophy they won.
Mm-hmm.
He played as a 10.
Mm.
Right? So there's one. But the conflict you've got is we've got many opinion is that Nadai is also a 10.
Yeah,
He would probably be, yeah. However, Dice will not play either of them in what is deemed to be their natural position. And a couple of weeks ago, Dice even come out in one of his press conferences and said there's no evidence to suggest that Nadai can play that position. But the stats will tell you when he played for Sheffield United, he played something like 33 games in that position, scored 14 goals and 5 assists. So if that's not evidence, I don't know what is. And this is what frustrates a lot of Evertonians with the manager, is he just will not be flexible. And then he tried one particular game. He did swap. He started Ndai on the left, but moved him inside. But lasted for about 10 minutes. And then moved him again. Well, you know, what's the point of that? Just to say, well, I tied him in there, it doesn't work. So get him back where I want him to play.
Yeah, to me, watching him in terms of his attributes, he's very nippy on the ball, you know, very good center of gravity. He knows how to manipulate defenders quite well. He can get out of tight spaces. He definitely has the attributes needed to play in that 10 role. And like I was saying to you, Neil, when I'm watching him, most of your patterns are coming from that left-hand side. If there's anything that's going well with Everton right now in terms of your attack, it goes through him and it goes through Dwight McNeil as well. He's another one that's been very good for you, you guys this season, right? So as you can see here in the screenshot, this was when you played United. You can see him here. He was actually playing left wing this game, but look where he is. Look at the positions that he's taken up. And in this position here, he actually turned on the ball and started to run at Man United's defense, right? So that's something that our midfielders got to be looking at here. That's something that if Gusto starts at right back or Caicedo starts at right back, you've got to make sure that you're getting tight to him and making sure that he does not turn. If he turns, he's a dangerous player. And we were speaking before the show as well. He's not going to be long. He is not going to be at Everton long because I look at him and he can definitely play at a higher level. He should not be playing for a team that's potentially, you know, going to be in a relegation battle if you keep Sean Dyche, bro. You know what I'm saying? So he's a player that I'm definitely looking at for this game as a dangerous weapon. I mean, what have you thought about Dwight McNeil this season? Because it seems to have been your best player this season, would you say?
He's a frustrating character, is Dwight, because technically he's a decent footballer, but he's very one-paced and he's very, very left-footed. In fact, I don't even think he uses his right to stand for standing. He's that left-footed. So it's sort of, again, if you do your homework on Everton, and yes, when he's in the mood, he can be a threat and he can get you the goal. But if you do your homework on Everton, keep McNeil on his right foot, doesn't do anything. Keep Nadai with his back to the goal, doesn't do anything. Or he can't do anything. Not that he doesn't, he will try, but he can't because and he gets frustrated during games. It's quite obvious he does. But McNeil, he's an enigma, shall we say, because on his day, he can be very, very good, but his drawbacks are his lack of pace and his very one-footedness. Personally, I would swap them over. I would put McNeil on the left. Play McNeil on the left where that's his natural position, and then play Nadai in the middle. But I wouldn't just do it for 10 minutes. I'd do it, certainly give them a run of games. Same with Lindstrom. You can't, even at the top level, it's very difficult for a player to come in and just turn it on straight away. You know, unless you're an exceptional superstar. We don't have them. So you've got to build, and you've got to stick by them. And the irony is, he will stick with players who are out of form, or i.e. the centre forward, because he suits his style. His form is dire. He can't score a goal to save his life. You know, and people blame it on service. It's nothing to do with service. He's had more than enough chances. He's just no good in front of goal.
Calvert-Lewin, you're referring to.
Yeah. He's never been. He's not a centre forward. When he started out, he played wide right. When he was at Sheffield United, he made his debut. He played wide right. When he came to Everton, he started out wide right, and which culminated, if you remember, in the infamous Koeman team selection, which played him at right wing back, which was nonsense in itself. But the point I'm making is he's not a natural centre forward. And obviously you analyse games, Don, and, you know, do stats and all that. I don't. I just go by what I see. And he does not possess the natural instincts of a centre forward, never mind a goal scorer.
It's funny you say that. Like, even here, like for example, this chance that Nick McNeil created for him, you can see his movement is very good. You can see him is peeling off the shoulder of the defender. That's Pinnock there. You can see, right? He's got good movement, you know, good pace to be honest. And you know, when you had Ancelotti, I remember that season in COVID, he was killing it, and then he got injured and he came back and he just hasn't really been the same player. But I'm still gonna be wary of him, man, because I think Calvert-Lewin, he's a problem in the box in terms of his heading. I think he's good in the air, in all honesty. McNeil, I know you said he hasn't got a right foot, but centrally, if you decide to play him in midfield, he can find the pass. That was a brilliant ball that he played to Calvert-Lewin there as well. But looking at your team overall, Neil, there's only really McNeil and Ndiaye that I'm looking at that are really a real attacking threat. Everyone else is mainly set pieces that I'm worried about, man. Would you agree? Would you say that that's blunt?
Yeah, I would totally agree, mate. Totally agree. And that's what I'm saying about him, Dyche, not being able to adapt to the circumstances and what's going on, either during games or when he sits down and watches games. I mean, I've seen him and heard him come out this season when we've been absolutely dire, blame it on small margins and say he thought we played well, when we've been absolutely terrorised. It's unbelievable. And, you know, I know he won't come and dig his players out. Well, most of them. He's done it with certain ones, which I think is unfair. But it's down to him to say, well, what I'm doing is not working. We've got to be able to adapt. And with his players as well. Well, at Burnley, he had players capable of playing the way he wanted to play. Oh, we got that type of player, you know? I don't think so.
That's the thing, though. When I'm watching your games, like, again, you move the ball well. Like, you do have some nice passing patterns in the midfield. But again, it's the final third where it's like they constantly look at Ndiaye. They're constantly looking at McNeil to make something happen. There's no one else really that's got that flair. Like, I'm looking at Gay, like you're saying, on the ball. He's not really doing much. I'm looking at Decore. He's not really doing much. I'm looking at Mangala. He's not really doing much. I'm looking at the winger, the right winger. You said Lundstrom, right? That's his name. He's not really doing
Lundstrom. Yeah.
He's not really doing much either on that side as well. So I'm expecting to beat you guys, but it's not going to be an easy match because we know how Everton set up off the ball, right? This was how you set up off the ball against Arsenal. So you can see that this is Sean Dyche FC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got the bank of three in the middle. You've got two here. You've got Ndiaye, Decore there. You've got obviously Ashley Young, Tarkowski, Branthwaite as well. So I do think that you're going to be playing a little bit of a low block. I know you're playing at home. Do you think that you're going to come out because you're playing at home, Neil, or do you think that he's going to be a little bit wary and sort of go into this sort of shape off the ball?
Not a chance. He'll continue to play the way he plays, low block. You mentioned before about the lack of pace at Everton back in defence, which I agree with to a certain extent. Branthwaite is quicker than I think you're giving him credit for. However, he's the only one with any semblance of pace. And if you notice, there's big gaps between midfield, defence, attack, or defence, midfield, attack. And the reason for that being is Everton cannot push up. Because if they get hit with the ball over the top and it's nowhere near Branthwaite, then we're done for.
Mm-hmm.
has been proven, and so therefore that's why we can't push up as a unit. You know, the way I was taught to play football is once the ball goes into their half, we as a team squeeze the halfway line.
Yeah, yeah.
So your back four, as it was in my day, are on the halfway line. Your goalkeeper would be on the edge of his box, right, to negate any ball over the top. So you've got your back four on your halfway line. You've got your midfield four in their mid half, their middle of their half, and therefore you've got your strikers on the edge of their box. That doesn't happen with Everton. If you watch Everton's strikers spend all their time on the halfway line.
This is the problem. It's negative, isn't it, Neil? It's not brave enough. That's the problem that you're going to have. And for me, that's why I'm looking at this game. And the main thing that we need to make sure that we're stopping is those set pieces. Because offensively, right, you can attack at times. I saw you lot attacking, certain patterns. Like, for example, so if you see here, Neil, like you do attack at times. I know you're saying that, you've seen your strikers mainly sort of staying in their own half. But, against Wolves, I was seeing a lot of your attacking patterns. For example, you can see Ashley Young here. That's Mangala on the ball. He plays it to Young. Young tries to whip it in. In the box, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, you've got another person attacking here. You've got another person looking to attack here. So I'm not saying that, all game you're going to be sitting back. I do think that in parts of the game you are going to attack us. But I think for the majority part of the game, what you're saying, what it sounds like you're saying, is that it's going to be sort of low block, would you say?
Yeah, without a doubt. For my mind, going back into old money, old school, the impression he gives me, obviously I'm not in his dressing room, but the impression I get, and I like to think I know the game, having been involved in it and in every level, his tactics are to try and pinch a goal through set piece and then just defend. Defend the lead. I mean, there's been a couple of examples this season, certainly Aston Villa and Leicester. Everton in the first half were by far and away the better team and the most dominant team. And then they come out second half and it was like he told them not to bother crossing the halfway line. And to me, that comes from the manager. It doesn't come from the play. We can discuss that somebody on the pitch should be saying, taking a notice of this, we need to get forward. But Villa be dominated at Villa. And the 2-0 up. The Southampton game, you think was a fluke because we did play well that day and we did dominate. And again, the consensus of opinion was a stupid substitution that didn't need to be made to give a fella a standing ovation because he played that well. He took off Najai, who had ran the game, which I understand, 2-0 up. However, give him the standing ovation with 2 minutes to go when the game's won.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And to me, that's just lack of professionalism. That's just, and my personal point of view is, and anyone who knows me will tell you this, and it's something I used to discuss regularly with Super Kev, God rest his soul. Any team, any professional or Premier League team that squanders a 2-0 lead should be fined.
Hold on. Did you draw against Southampton?
We were 2-0 up, yeah. We were 2-0 up in the last 18.
Jesus Christ. Southampton are getting dealt with by everyone.
Sorry, not Southampton. Not Southampton, mate. Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. Bournemouth are a good team. Bournemouth are a good team, to be fair.
Southampton was probably one of the worst performers. Now, I correct myself. Southampton away was probably one of the worst performances I've ever seen. But twice, we played Southampton twice. Who's the only game Southampton have won this season? They've won 2 games. 2 games we've won. Both games against Everton. They beat us at Goodison in the League Cup, albeit on penalties, but they beat us.
Wow.
And they beat us down there when Everton squandered chance after chance, do what Everton do, defend, concede a stupid goal. Jesus and then Christ. If we concede first, I don't think there's many Evertonians who will honestly put the hand up and say they are confident that we will come back from even 1-0 down.
Again, it's your attack. The attack again is not good. When I'm watching you guys, it's so bland. It's so blunt. It's just so, I'm just watching it and I'm like, I couldn't deal with watching this weekly. You know what I mean? That's the feeling that I get from it. And that's why for me, I'm low-key confident going into this game now. There's so many narratives that we need to change. Chelsea have been terrible against Wolves recently. We'll go away from home, we beat them. Chelsea have had a bogey West Ham have been our bogey team. We'll go away from home, we beat them, right? We had Brentford, who've been our bogey team in the league as well. We beat them last week, right? Everton, another bogey team. All these little narratives that we've built up, since we last won the league, I'd probably say, we need to make sure that we're now starting to change that narrative. And now is the perfect time because, like what you're saying, the football's dross, the tactics ain't good. It's set pieces and hope and Indai and McNeil hope. But other than that, there's nothing else really.
There's nothing. No. And there's an old adage amongst Evertonians, which we often say is, if there's a team that needs to change its look or needs to break a record, whatever it may be, Everton's the team to play against, because Everton will let you break your hoodoo. And it's happened time and time and time and time again over the years. Manchester City going through a slump at the moment for City standards. They'll be rubbing their hands for Boxing Day. They'll be rubbing their hands for Boxing Day because who do they play Boxing Day? At home, Everton. And if
I've got your lineup. Go on, Neil. Sorry, carry on, man.
Yeah, and if Dice doesn't come out and play against what you would term as the lesser sides in the division, I'm not saying these sides are not better than Everton. What I'm saying is not your Cities, your Liverpools, your Chelsea's. If he doesn't set up to win against the mid-table sides, he's certainly not going to set up to win against the top sides. And he doesn't. Yeah. But again, the lineup, predictable.
Talk us through it. Talk us through the lineup, man. What's the lineup that you've gone with here?
Well, that's the lineup I think he will go with, and that's the lineup he will normally go with if he has a full squad to choose from, regardless on form or performance. What I will say, I've picked that lineup in with the fact that I don't know what McNeil's fitness status is because he was injured last week. However, if he's fit, I fully expect him to go straight back in at the expense of Mangala.
You've got Ndiaye on the left, Harrison on the right, Calvert-Lewin up top. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sorry, no disrespect, Neil. We should be dealing with this team, man. This is the lineup that I think Maresca's going to pick. Obviously, Cucurella got sent off the other day, so he's not going to start this game. I can see Vega coming into the lineup. You probably don't know much about him because he's barely sort of played in the Prem. But he's a very, physical player. He can cover his wide areas quite well. In the box as well, it gives us a little bit more height up against set pieces. So starting him, Tosin and Colwell should hopefully give us the cover that we need in the box when it comes to your set pieces. Sanchez is actually quite good at cross collection. I know with the ball at his feet, he hasn't been amazing. But to be fair to him, the past 2-3 games has actually been quite good. And like I said, his cross collection has been quite good as well. I reckon he might probably invert Caicedo from right back so he can start both Lavia and Enzo just to give us a little bit more steel in that midfield. And then what will happen is when you've got Caicedo inverting, what tends to happen is Enzo Fernandez goes into this position like this, and then Cole Palmer will take up this position like this. So then you have a pivot there, and then you tend to have Cole that goes central like this. Enzo Fernandez linking up nicely with Sancho, playing those passes, combining with him, passing it through to Jackson in between the lines as well. Cole Palmer, you know what Cole Palmer is all about in terms of his creativity. He can make magic out of nothing. I reckon you'll probably start Neto for the game as well. And he's actually suspended against Brentford. Madueke started yesterday. He came off at half time, but I reckon Neto will probably still start the game. But it's the lineup that I reckon he'll go with. And if he starts Gusto, he might start Gusto probably at left back, I would say, if Gusto starts the game. But I can definitely see Vega starting because of the height, like I said. It gives us a little bit more height up against a team like yours that are, quite physical and quite tall in the box as well. Who would you say is the player that you're looking out for the most here, Neil, from a Chelsea point of view? Who scares you the most in this lineup?
Cole Palmer. Simple as that. Because the lad can play. He's a top footballer. It still baffles me, unless it's solely his decision. Baffles me how Pep let him go.
He didn't want to leave.
Well, because I've read various reports, and obviously some are true, some are not. But he said, "Well, I realised I wasn't going to get a chance, so I wanted to go."
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one Pep. He doesn't. I don't think Pep will regret much throughout his career, either as player and certainly not as manager. But I think that might be one decision he now may be thinking, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I shouldn't have agreed to that," because the lad's a top player, and
we had to get them back, Neil. I know KDB didn't go directly from Chelsea to Man City, but it's always something over us. Because I remember when De Bruyne was at Chelsea, when he was on loan, I've still got a tweet from like 2013, I think it was. I was like, I hope we don't loan him out again, because I saw something in him, right? Obviously, he ended up going to Man City, arguably the greatest midfielder the Prem's ever seen. So for us now, this is our payback. You know what I mean? Payback as well, because they obviously done what they did to Salah. Again, he didn't go direct to Chelsea, but this is our payback. You know what I mean? Cole Palmer's been a breath of fresh air since he's been at the club. And honestly, I expect him to turn up against you guys, man. I think, again, like you're saying, the gap between the midfield and the attack at times, when you've got Cole Palmer roaming those areas, it can be a problem for you lot. You know what I mean? But it's going to be hard for him to break down that low block as well at the same time.
I think he'll be big problems for us, because especially if he's given space to play in. You can't afford to do that, and unfortunately, Everton are masters as allowing teams to play. I mean, one of my biggest bugbears is allowing the other team to have the ball all the time. It's something I've never encountered in football ever, as a player, coach, fan. I've watched Everton teams that are not particularly good or haven't been particularly good, but I've never known an Everton team to surrender possession as a tactic, as a specific tactic. And he has openly said he believes, he's happy to let the other team have the ball, but that might be not with this squad. I don't agree with it. I never have agreed with it. Never will agree with it. I've always been brought up on the old adage Guardiola used: always keep the ball. If we've got the ball, they can't score. And if you lose the ball, get it back as quickly as possible.
I mean, you're facing the team that scored the most goals at the minute. So there's only so long you can hold on for 90 minutes. So you're just defending. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to try go for it. But again, like you're saying, Dyche, we know what Dyche is. Dyche is all about sitting back, long balls, set pieces. I mean, keeping that shape. But just to finish off, Neil, what's your prediction for the game, man?
If I'm being realistic, I expect us to lose. Very optimistic, we might nick a win. But from an Evertonian point of view, I think the best I think we'll get is a draw, if we're lucky.
So what are you saying? Would you say like a 1-1?
I think if it's 1-1, we will have to score first.
Yeah.
If you score first, I can only see one winner.
That's like me.
As you say, a 1-1 will be the best, because Everton, as we've discussed, Everton can't score goals. So, we've done it on a couple of occasions. We took 2-0 leads and they didn't end well. So, and we've regressed, I think, in the way we play now. So, I can't see Everton scoring a lot of goals.
I'm going to say 2-0 Chels for this one. We're yet to concede a goal from set pieces at the minute. I know you're good on set pieces, but when we even played Arsenal, we're limited how many corners we were giving them. Our counter pressing is very good. And like you're saying, most of the game, I think you're probably going to sit back. I'm actually going to predict 2-0. It's been a minute, in all honesty, that I predicted a clean sheet, but I can feel a W, man. I can feel a W and potentially a clean sheet as well, especially from what you've been, the insight that you've given us. But Neil, really appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
No worries. But as always, people, make sure that you're leaving your comments in here. Let us know your prediction for the game. Let us know who you think is going to score. Listen, we need to make sure that we're winning, man, because I think if we win the game, we're going to go top of the table for a few hours, which is going to be quite interesting. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you don't want Liverpool winning the league, Neil.
No, mate, not at all. Anyone who goes above them, that's all good by me.
Top man. But listen, as always, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're leaving your comments in below. Love.